put HIV positive on my profiles. People don't want to touch you. I remember being on a date with someone. So I brought him back to my place. It was like, okay, like I need to tell you something. Like I'm HIV positive. And I remember he like looked at me. It was like I murdered him. I was like, I thought he was going to beat the shit out of me. He was like, I can't believe you wouldn't tell me. And like, you gave me HIV, and like was just losing his mind. And I'm like, no, that's not possible. Even if I bled on you, like in an open wound, like that wouldn't happen. I'm undetectable. And like, you know, but he just like didn't want to hear it. Now, like the way the law goes, like being undetectable, like I really don't have to like disclose my status. And you think about it, like anyone that you meet on your first date or if like you're hooking up, like are you like, I have diabetes, I have high blood pressure. You're not telling them any of this shit. Where HIV is now, like if you are undetectable, like you don't necessarily like have to disclose that. I don't think you're putting anyone at any risk that you have to like necessarily go through that, but it's because of the stigma and shame that I feel like I have to disclose. People would look at that as betrayal.
Whoa, there's a lot going on there. So first of all, I was unaware that you didn't have to disclose that to people who you might be in relations with. That seems crazy to me. So we looked it up, and according to our producer, George Pierre Thomas, various disclosures may or may not be required in certain jurisdictions. Countries like Switzerland, for example, in 2018, the Swiss Federal Supreme Court ruled that individuals living with HIV who are on effective antiviral treatment and have an undetectable viral load do not have to disclose their status before intercourse, as long as the risk of transmission is negligible. I don't like that word, legal verbiage, negligible. Germany is the same, and in some U.S. states, I guess it's the same thing. Listen to this. In Colorado, under Colorado law, HIV-positive individuals are not required to disclose their status if they are on treatment. If they are on treatment, have an undetectable viral load, and use protection during intercourse. A lot of ifs there that I'm not super comfortable with. Interestingly enough, Iowa is very similar to Colorado. Iowa law was reformed in 2014 to eliminate the requirement for disclosure if the person is on effective treatment and adheres to safe practices. A lot of squishy and fuzzy verbiage there that I don't like. I like hardline, this is that, and that is what the law says. And, you know, just from, how do you, first of all, this dude, talking about, well, you don't disclose if you have diabetes or high blood pressure. Yeah, diabetes and hypertension isn't transmittable unless you guys both agree to go eat cheeseburgers 12 hours a day for a year. Yeah, maybe, well, you might get both of those diseases, but they weren't given to someone without their knowledge of it. Those are just things that affect the person and the person only. Yeah, equating that to HIV is a stupid, like it's not even on the same level, let alone makes it okay to not disclose your status. And from like a legal standpoint, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not pretending to give any legal advice here, but who's to say that the person who is positive, who transmits it to a person who was negative and is now positive without any sort of disclosure whatsoever, the responsibility then lies entirely on the person who does not tell the other person that they are in effect in danger to make sure that they're doing all the right things. And who's to say that if in a criminal trial or a civil case that the person, the transmitting person, the positive person doesn't say, well, I was doing all the things, the risk was negligible, I had all three steps. I was on an antiviral treatment. I had an undetectable load, viral load, and I used protection, whatever. Who's to say that they're not just going to say all of those things in a court proceeding? But I think the big problem here from a legal standpoint, and again, not a lawyer, comedian, not attorney, but wouldn't you want the person who is at the most risk in that situation to have the ability to make a decision for themselves rather than be entirely dependent on the person who for some reason is now no longer legally obligated to disclose some pretty important information? That's where I see a big problem here. And I don't know where this dude lives, but if it is the law where he lives that it's not required, holy cow, that can get to some sticky territory really fast. My advice here, maybe don't fool around in the sheets with someone you don't know. Just throwing that out there. If you meet a nice guy or gal at a bar, doesn't matter if it's girl, guy, girl, maybe it's best to get married first. Start a life together. Do all of the things in the proper order. I guarantee you, one, your risk of disease is going to go down drastically. And two, well, there's no polite way of saying this. You get to do all the things. My wife is going to be so mad. Trust me, kids. If you find a significant other that you can get married to and have a happy life together, you get to do all the things. You get to try it all. So, maybe not all. God, I've been in so much trouble for this, but hey, that's the advice here. Don't, if you don't put yourself in a position to where you find yourself in a legal court proceeding of disclosure versus not disclosure versus viral versus not, that can all be avoided if you take the great philosopher Beyonce's words to heart. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it.